All right, I'm live. I can't believe it. I have so many more views from the last video I posted a week ago compared to all the other views I've ever had on this channel. And that's super exciting because I tried out a different method of making videos aimed at a particular person. And so far it seems to be working. And the next person on my list of people I wanted to talk to and share my ideas with is Alex O'Connor. Dude, you're a great guy. You're a great thinker. You're honest, and you're self-reflective, and you care about the truth. And I was told by my wife this very tragic idea that there's the majority of people that say the phrase "I want to know the truth" don't actually. And as somebody who is interested in philosophy, it breaks my heart. Like, actually, that was a truth that was hard for me to accept. And you don't seem possessed by ideology. You seem, the fact that you are willing to change your mind about big picture issues and are continually challenging yourself with the opposing views. I know a lot of atheist YouTubers do that too, but I just thought that was very commendable. And you're actually studying to be professional. Seems to be philosopher. I'm not sure exactly what your major is because you're taking a lot of theology as well, from what I hear here. But I did want to ask you about some nitty-gritty particulars regarding the morality of going vegan. I went vegan January of 2018. So January, February, March. Yeah. So not too much of a time gap. All for the same reasons. I took a personality test, and maybe the test is wrong, but it said that I'm very low on compassion. And yet, I don't even need to see all the footage of what goes on in factory farms. I don't want to have anything to do with it. I'm running away from that as just fast as possible, taking my dollars. So my question is for you, because my wife isn't vegan, and I was sort of justifying it to myself in my own mind to not judge her. Was one, obviously, I knew of the issues beforehand and didn't go vegan right away. So there's that. But the other one is, who is my wife paying for exactly? She's at the end of a long chain of the transactions. And I know consumer demand is at the root responsible for what goods and services are in the marketplace. But there are a lot of steps, and how many steps before it becomes less your responsibility? I mean, the butcher himself, the factory farm manager, how I think there's a percentage of ownership that each individual in the chain has. It's kind of like with any evil corporation or government, like there's the dictator, and then there's the lackeys, and and then there's the Obama who shakes the hand of one of their lackeys. So the store is just trying to sell what sells to make money, and that demand is what needs to change, essentially, or else none of them will be doing that. I know that already, but by the same token, the responsibility is lessened. Because I think, I don't know. The only way I can get myself to talk is to post these things live, because I overthink things. Even with the stupid thumbnail, the first couple videos I just did what immediately came to mind, and this time I'm like, oh, Alex O'Connor, I want to get a good first impression, and I took it like 5 times. Anyway, I hope you can sort of, make an inference of the train of thought I'm trying to go towards. Even though I can't articulate it as clearly as I'd like, you sort of see what I'm saying there. It isn't enough for me to not go vegan. So, but I also have the advantage of being able to eat basically any diet I want without any negative consequence. I don't know what I would do if I were in my wife's shoes, for example, where she can't stand eating beans. She can't stand most fruits. It would be kind of like which does segue into my next question, actually, is, the obligatory versus, morally righteous, the whole charity argument that you've been talking about lately. I wonder, so this branches off into two main themes regarding, how much charity is obligatory and if it's obligatory at all. The first theme is we're just going to justify whatever we do. So if I give 10% of my income to charity, I'll say, well, everyone should give 10%. And if I didn't give any, I would say, you don't need to really give charity. It's optional. And if I gave everything away, the second I got it, I would say, well, yeah, it's the only logically moral thing to do. I think there is an element of human bias and whatever we decide to do with that, that's sort of inescapable. Part of why I went vegan was because I wanted to be able to say, not just with my words, but with my actions, that is the moral thing. Like, that's what I believed. Maybe prior to factory farming, I'm not as against painlessly euthanizing animals, or murdering them or killing them or whatever, at ending their life. So before I get too lost in thought on one train, I want to get back to the two big points, which are the human bias to justify the level of obligation. It's just a reflection of what you feel comfortable with. Shoot, I totally forgot the other train of thought. The clock's ticking. Shoot, and then I had the third idea I was going to bring up. That was a really good one. I got stage fright. Oh man, can you believe it? No excuses. We had a boss at work that was this matriarch nightmare of a woman, and no matter what legitimate excuse or reason you had, she would just bark at you, no excuses. It was terrible. All right, so let me try to rewind my train of thought here. Obligations, how we determine what obligations. Oh yes, good, I remember the second branch. So the second branch is, suppose I won the lottery, right? Now it's $100 million. I could do the research and give all that money to the most effective charity possible. Okay. What if instead I put that $100 million into a movie that I want to watch, that no one's made, that I find entertaining, and it ends up becoming successful and makes a profit of $300 million after expenses. And then I, after that, decide to donate $100 million to charity. That seems, or even more, 150, that seems better. So then that tells me, well, maybe giving to charity, it's worth waiting for a moment to give to charity, because you could make more money and then give more of that. So maybe the answer to the question, why don't you give all your money away the second you get it, is because you could actually do more good by keeping the money, because you can make more money with the money. Maybe that's an intuition, that when people hesitate to give away all their stuff, that maybe there's a part of them that also knows that they could do more good with, by keeping their wealth, because the wealth itself multiplies. I guess there are inherent industries that create things that are actually valuable versus marketly valuable. Like a movie is subjectively valuable and more subjectively valuable than, let's say, creating crops for, nutritious food for hungry people. I guess that's a, who can't afford it because they're not in the market game. So it's, even though they probably should be, or that should be taken accounted for. So good. I remember the two big branches. Now I want to remember the third big idea tangent. I do want to eventually hear your thoughts on the anti-government stance, voluntary association, and how the principles of consent apply to taxation, as well as obligation, and the effectiveness of, voting versus consumer preferences. Oh, and the third big whopper is, did it have to do, I'm sorry, I'm sort of talking to myself and talking to you at the same time. Did it have to do with me feeling no compassion towards ending animal life? Yes, it did. Sorry, this has helped. It was worth it to remember the point. In Jordan Peterson's book, the newest book, he talked about vegans and he talked about animals. And one thing I thought was fascinating was he talked about zebras, or not prey animals, but prey animals, not predators. Prey animals particularly don't really have a sense of time, to such an extent that when a flock or a herd of zebras, or whatever the name is, are hanging out on the fields and the lions have eaten and killed their, I guess, friends, the zebras don't do anything about it. They don't even really care or notice. It's only when the lions start to chase them that they start fearing for their life, because they're kind of, what all the mindfulness people are striving towards is just being in the now. And they're not planning ahead whatsoever. That ties with the Buddhist idea that suffering is really in your mind. I mean, pain is real. Pain is existence, but suffering is an added layer of negative emotion associated with anticipating a negative outcome, or having a theory of the world that is negative and is causing you negative emotions. So if animals don't have that, then even if they're suffering significantly less, by orders of magnitude, than a human would, I would hope. But I know that pigs are not prey animals. I think they're predators. And we all know how smart pigs are and how much they suffer. So it's sort of a moot point, but I could see where there's some wiggle room there as far as treating all sentient creatures equally, like taking that into account, their ability to process and extrapolate to the future, and how that affects their emotional salience, I guess. Because we also tend to project onto animals. And, even Jordan Peterson sort of contradicted himself, because when he talks about the lobsters, he said that in science, you assume continuity among the species until there's a reason to think otherwise. And then on the other hand, he said something about how humans tend to anthropomorphize animals and project feelings and thoughts that they're not even really capable of. So I'm so glad I remembered the points I wanted to say. It's been kind of a crazy week for me. Shoot, and I'm at 15 minutes already. Just house things, have 2 kids and a wife, and it's all spoiled white guy stuff. It's a pain for me to have to deal with home maintenance expenses that it just sucks. Yeah. And it's always more expensive. Like, I should have learned how to fix my own house, because I'm at the mercy of contractors and service providers that, you know, could easily take advantage of me. And as a pro-market, free market capitalist, meritocracy advocating agent, you know, I should complain less. But there's an asymmetry of information there, so it opens the door a little, especially, you know, when it comes to certain goods and services. I recommend you do a little more deep dive into economics. I think you could do some good there. I say that because I like your brain and I like hearing your thoughts on things. And economics as a whole, it's like its own branch of philosophy, essentially. You know, theories of value, theories of incentive structures. You know, what's the moral structure? What's the more productive structure? What actually helps the poor? What intends to help the poor but doesn't? Like, is economics really a science? Does data? Are you just do you hold a theory that's unfalsifiable, or does data mean something when it comes to, you know, free market principles? There's the Chicago school, the Austrian school, there's Keynesian. You know, if you're bored, I know you're kind of focusing on what you're focusing on, but we need more smart people and that are in the economics arguments. But yeah, I don't want to take too much of your time. I can't believe that anyone watched the other one. So it'd be cool if I could just double this and double this and double this. It would be awesome. You know, I did sort of take a lot of unnecessary pauses and breaks, but I don't have the editing skills to edit this shit. I mean, you and Christianity, or what is it? Inspiring Philosophy, Rationality Rules, you know, both the Christians and the atheists, you guys are younger than me, and you guys are just killing it. It'd be nice to know, or to get familiar enough with that to make as quality of videos as you guys make. When I tried, I downloaded some piece of crap software. It didn't let me do anything. It was super tedious. Live seems to be where I'm at on my skill set with that, but I have room to improve. I paid $100 for this goofy camera that's also a microphone. Seems to be working okay. I see one viewer. I think that viewer is me. But yeah, this was fun. I'm going to tweet you. That's what I did to Michael Malice. He was the first person I talked to. I know a whole other, you know, YouTube world, but yeah, it'd be fun to like see you on Joe Rogan or something like that. I mean, you could hold your own. You're like just like Christopher Hitchens could, you know. You got the accent, the Oxford accent. So I don't know. I just keep being you, keep being badass, keep striving. And I'm just happy you're a part of the conversation. I've seen you talk to a lot of people I was hoping you would, and it just warms my heart. And just keep up the good work, man. Rock out.